This week on the podcast, I have Sonia Glover. I'm going to have her introduce herself. She is what is it, couch to 100 miles on both Instagram and TikTok. And she and I are parasocial social media friends. And I just wanted to have a chat with her about injuries and running purpose and community and all sorts of stuff. So, Sonia, why don't you introduce yourself?
Hello, I'm Sonia Glover. I am originally from Heber, Arizona, now residing in Chandler, Arizona. I have loved running, been running since I've been 7 years old, and right now we're at a pause due to an injury.
Yeah, and as a lot of people know, my body is like riddled with effects of old injuries, so pretty empathetic. What happened? Let's talk about that a little bit.
Let's do a rewind. So, couch to 100 miles. There's a lot to say about that, but I'll bring the story to right where we need to be. I was training for my first 100 miler. My coach is Tommy Luneta, and he's the one who coined the couch to 100 because I had lost my parents 14 months apart. My dad was unexpected, and then 14 months later, my mom passed away from a broken heart. And I knew that I wanted to run 100 miler because how I felt anytime that I would cross a finish line, whether it be a 5K, a 10K, half marathon, full marathon, I felt to myself, I know I can, if I can do this, I can do more. So that is why I wanted to do a 100 miler. And originally I wanted to do it in 2020 to honor my mom who was going through chemotherapy.
Sure.
And that I just wanted to show you are so strong. You have been strong coming into this country. You are strong going through this treatment. You're strong because you just lost your husband and you're going through this. I want to honor you in this 100. Well, it didn't happen. She passed away May 23rd of 2020, and it wasn't COVID related or cancer related. So like,
Sorry. Like I a lot of people here know that I like lost my dad and that's what like set me down this whole job path. So I feel yeah, it's hard. It's really hard.
and Will, I am so sorry for your loss. I'm so sorry.
I appreciate that. Yeah, it's a tough time, and especially when they're like sick on the way out. Like honestly, the death was not the hard part. So yeah, it's really hard.
It is. It's hard to see them go through that. And my husband and I, and some of my family members were like my parents' caregivers as well. So I stopped running. I just sat on the couch, depressed, grieving stricken depression, sat on the couch, didn't want to do anything, didn't want to get up, didn't want to even shower. And I said, enough is enough. I need to honor my parents in some way. I need to get out. Running is a form of, everybody says therapy, and it's true. It helps depression, it helps everything for me. So I got out there. I through a friend, I contacted Tommy Luneta, who helps with mindfulness, meditation, and that's kind of helped me calm my anxiety and depression. And I got out there. I got out there again. And previously, when my dad passed away, I ran 100K, Javelina 100K. And as I was training, if you believe in signs, I could hear him running beside me as I would train and white butterflies. And that was him letting me know, hey, I'm here. My parents were my number one supporters, along with my husband. And I just knew that they were there. So when I
That's
started
great.
training, my mom started to appear, a yellow butterfly. She loved the color yellow. So not only did I have a yellow butterfly, I had white butterflies. I had my dad pacing me. And just being out in nature is so relaxing. It's lets you just scream, let out everything that you need to out on the trail, out there, just release. So I was training for Javelina 100 miler. 3 weeks before the race, I signed up for the virtual London Marathon and I said, what best way to get my marathon in is to practice on the actual race course, which I had been doing previous months. But I did Escondido Trail and it's really technical. And I started off that trail, not even 3 miles. I did this with my ankle.
Yep.
Like, and like, oh, okay, shake it off, shake it off. It's fine. It's fine. I'm fine. I have a compression sleeve, calf sleeves. I'm fine. Walk it off, walk it off. And that, mind you, was the first 2 or 3 miles of the 26. Like, it's okay. Keep going. So I did. I kept going. I was fine, little pain, but what pain do you not feel? Normal.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
So I came home and I looked at it. It didn't look bruised. It didn't look puffy. I did a spin class 5 days later, and it went, and then it got swollen and bruised.
Yeah,
I saw.
I know how that goes, unfortunately. Yeah.
I was like, this can't be happening 3 weeks before the race. No, no, no. I was already seeing a physical therapist. I saw a nurse practitioner. They looked at it, they checked it off. Check, you can run the race. Perfect. I ran the race and I sprained both ankles again. And I finished a little bit of background thought too.
Wait, did
In
you
the
finish that
golden
100K on both ankles?
on the 100 miler, yes,
Oh,
but
sorry.
yes, but in the golden hour, I was the one who was 7 minutes over the
Ah,
cutoff
no.
time.
Okay. Yeah,
So, yes,
got it. So you got
but I
100
did
miles
finish.
in, but not another time.
Yeah,
Got it.
not in the time, seven
Yeah,
minutes over, no buckle, but it didn't matter. That my why was to run it with for my parents. So
absolutely.
that to me, I did it. I did it.
Yeah. I mean, I'd count it actually. Like I realized that like race has to have cutoffs and everything like that. But yeah, you ran 100 miles. That's
Yes.
hard. You did the
And
thing. Good job.
And I love Aravipa. Jubilee, who is the race director, she gave me this little plaque, and it had like I can't remember what it was. I still have it. The little animal, and it's colorful, and it was a plaque, and it was the name of the race who made the race. I can't remember her name, who came up with the race.
Hmm.
Anyways, she presented that to me. So I
Awesome.
have something to remember, that the acknowledgement.
That's great. Good.
So, story, I kept running on it. I kept running on it. I had one more race, which wasn't official. It was a 50 miler, which you could run in a month, a week, a day, however you wanted to break it up. And it was to honor one of my TikTok friends and Instagram friends. His handle is Let's Go Joe, and he has a blind son. And every time around December, November, he does this race, a 50 miler, to honor his son because he's blind and with special needs. And he said, hey, anybody in the running community would like to join me, you can run at your own pace. You will get a little medal with my son's face on it. I said, absolutely.
That's
Well,
awesome.
I ran. Yeah, it's a great cause. I ran it, and I think I took about 2 weeks, and I knew something wasn't right. My ankle was not feeling well on the trail. So I finally made an appointment with the ankle specialist, which led the MRI showed a tear in the Achilles and a tear in the ankle ligament, and this is the right ankle.
Awesome. Which ligament did you tear?
I really don't know the
That's
technical
fine.
name, but it's right on the ankle part, not the inner, the outer.
Okay. Yeah, that's just me being a nerd. Don't worry about it.
No,
It's fine.
it's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay to nerd out.
Yeah, it's my whole job. But yeah, like it's hard. And like I obliterated my ankle in college and I'm pretty sure I did like some we're not gonna call it irreparable because it did the job, but like really slow healing damage to my entire it's called a deltoid, right? So if you have your foot and it's like across the whole top, like I just like destroyed that thing. and it took a really, really long time for it to get fully better. And I wasn't even as like wrecked as you were because I didn't have to go through the surgery thing, but like I did my time in the boot. I did my time of like re-spraining it like an idiot. Like it just I hate ankle injuries. I hate them so much. I can't even tell you. So the fact that you've been dealing with that long, I have nothing but empathy.
Thank you. I mean, I've been getting a lot of backlash for non-runners, colleagues of mine. You should stop running. You see
Oh,
how much running is bad for you. I get it. I understand. I hope they, some I felt that they were concerned, but some oh, there goes my dog. Sorry. Bless you.
yes, okay.
I I just feel that some of them they just didn't know what else to talk about. Oh, you've been in that boot, you've been. But Will, how long was your recovery?
That is a complicated answer. A year, start to finish.
Okay,
But
okay.
it shouldn't have been that long. I was 19. I was 19 and booted for a while. My dad was thankfully like a really good PT. So like he helped me go through a bunch of exercises and heal it. Um, but I was playing ultimate frisbee at the time, like trying to be fairly competitive at it. And it's a very like short sprinting sport, right? So there wasn't this like slow buildup. I didn't know what I was doing. Like didn't have like any coach to like properly like build me back into running. So like it would be feeling better. I'd do all my rehab, we'd go through these things. Like I'd kind of jog it a little bit and then we go to a track workout and like try to run a 400. And as soon as like I take off, like it would sprain again. And that probably happened 3 or 4 times over the year. And then I took a summer off because like I wasn't at school, and that's like what it needed to actually get better. But yeah, it didn't really get better for a year, partially like ignorance, re-injury, poor guidance on the point of like school medical professionals, like the athletic trainer, and I did not see eye to eye on certain things. So yeah, like in retrospect, knowing what I knew now, probably should take in 3 months. In actuality, it took about a year.
Yeah. I just that's what I was trying to tell the people that would always say, "You're never gonna run, you should stop running." It takes time to heal. It's not a 4 week, it's not six
Yeah,
week. And I did this to myself in 2018 when I really started getting into elevation, vert training, and my first ultra. I didn't stretch, and I had a nodule in the back of my Achilles, and
yeah,
my PT would always just fix me up, get me ready for the next race. He's like, "I'm so scared it's going to rupture." I'm like, "It's not. Just do your magic, do what you got to do, get me ready." And he's been doing this since 2016 with one of my marathon, San Francisco Marathon, which was hilly. I'm like, "Just get me fixed."
yeah,
And so I didn't stretch. I mean, it's us runners, when do we stretch? When it's too late. I
yeah. And I
waited a
don't
long
think,
hard.
I mean, very honest, like I'm like put some like professional guidance here. Like you don't always need to, kind of depending who you are, like what your issues are. Like runners probably put too much on stretching and not enough on strength training, which is what I see you do on like the Instagram a lot. Um, I think like we put a lot on stretching, which can be important. I mean, to be fair, I have like hip labrum issues in my right side. If I don't stretch that, I'm probably going to break, I'm probably going to tear that further. But most of the time, we need to be like strengthening the counterbalancing muscles that are actually causing the problem, right? So, like, if we're straining, if we keep spraining the ankle, it's because your ankle's weak, right? Or your foot's weak.
Right.
Or your calf or your tibialis anterior, anything like in this lower leg is like causing you problems. And if we don't fix the actual problem, then yeah, of course, like you're going to get hurt, which I've done a lot. And I think most of us have, unfortunately.
Yeah, I can't stress strength training. I hired a personal trainer 2016. I had IT band issues, both my knees, I was getting cortisone shot. Once I started strength training, knock on wood, they went away.
Yeah,
They went away.
I bet. That's awesome. Really good. That's fantastic. What do you do for strength work?
Well, I have a personal trainer, and bless her, because she has been so patient with me being non-weight bearing. Mostly it was upper body or core, however I could get any work done without putting any pressure on my ankle. And she would find other ways to how I could still work my hamstrings. I mean, she's very creative and a genius at it. So
Awesome.
whatever she could throw it at me, she did. And now we're both happy that we can finally do a little bit of weight bearing strength training. I can't wait to do squats and hang cleans. Oh, I can't wait. I can't wait.
I mean, I saw you on the sled like a week ago. That's good. That's the clutch move. That's really good. I'm happy. Oh yeah. How's uh how's the ankle feeling during all of that?
It's really sore, and I'm just taking it slow. I can't rush this. I don't want to undo everything that I worked so hard for with my my physician. And
And
so when I'm able to do the bike, it gets sore. It's sore. It's weak. It's sore.
sure,
And what a transition from the boot to the ankle brace. And just being
good.
at work on it for 12 hours, it gets still sore and puffy. Even if I wear compression socks, it's still saying, hey, I'm still here. And a matter of fact, after this interview, I'm going to go see my ankle specialist. So let's see what he says. I've been in the ankle brace for a little about a month and a week.
Yeah,
So we'll see what the progression is.
good. It's awesome. And like I've seen you go through quite a bit of it. Did you have to, I mean, I've seen laser treatments, all this stuff. Did you have to get surgery to fix your Achilles? Like what ended up happening?
Not surgery. So let me see if I can say the acronym right. APRP shots,
Yep.
multiple shots in the Achilles. And there was I don't know the ankle ligament, but he did have to go in there, and it was just being so stubborn that he did have to go in there and fix it.
Got it. That makes sense.
So yeah. So I had been in the boot. Well, how he started me off, he's like, let's see if ankle braces on both ankles will do the trick. So for about 4 months, I was in it. And I said, hey, I feel so great. And then June of 2022, I got to run. My first day was National or Global Day, Global Running Day. I'm like, yay, I get to participate. 1 month as it went, and I started hitting the trails. Nope, nope. The
Yeah.
Achilles was saying, nope, no, no. So then I was put in a boot, and I had to be off of it. And I was out of work for 8 weeks, knee scooter.
I'm
And
sorry.
then I went to work with a knee scooter, which I'm like, I can't sit here and rot. I can't. I can't. I have to go to work. I'm so
Yeah.
thankful that my workplace allowed me to be in the scooter. So I had been in the boot since August of 2022, and just recently I got out of it.
That is wait so long. I hate the boot
Yeah.
so much. I'm so sorry. Oh man. What do you do for work?
I'm a medical laboratory scientist.
Okay.
So
That's
what we
actually really
do,
cool.
thank you. What we do is that we tell the doctors, we tell the nurses what is wrong with you. We we can tell you if you have cancer. We can find the correct blood for you when you need a transfusion. We can tell you if your electrolytes are off or your kidneys are going. It's just we're the ones in the hospital that they take your blood. The phlebotomist will draw your blood. We'll test it. We'll tell you if you have cancer, your kidneys are failing, your liver's failing, or you're anemic, or let's set up some blood and send it up to the nurse.
It's awesome. I actually know someone who does that kind of work here at the University of Utah. That's really cool. What do you find like from that? Like, what do you mostly have from that work? Like, who seems to be coming at you the most? Like, is it a lot of cancer? Is it more like testosterone stuff? Like, where are you?
Well, our hospital is more geriatric, so we do have cancer patients, but we're a trauma level one hospital
Got
as
it.
well, so
Okay.
we get a lot of that. So it encompasses a cancer or traumas or uh, a lot.
Cool. That's
I
awesome.
could keep going.
Yeah, I mean, I could listen to it forever, and everybody else can be real bored. So we'll like move on. But thanks. Yeah, that's awesome. Um, so as far as like the recovery, where are you now? And I'd like to like take a step back here in a minute, but at the moment, like where are you now on your journey to like getting back to running and racing? I see you moving a little bit again. What's your forecast?
So right now, for the month that I was in the ankle brace, the my ankle specialist had me on the bike with no resistance.
Okay.
I could swim, but not really kick my legs, which I haven't gone swimming. That's another issue. A lot of weight gain. Ooh, embarrassed. It comes with
Yeah,
injury, gaining
absolutely.
weight. And so that's all I've been doing. Oh, and the strength training, I've been doing that ever since I stopped running.
Good. That's awesome.
So
I mean, it
we'll
sounds like you're moving a little bit. Are you able to get like some of that? Do you feel like you've been able to preserve some, at least some of your cardio, from the biking and that stuff?
I feel like I'm starting at square one again. I'm
Yeah.
very winded. Even my personal trainer has me doing the ropes. I'm still winded. And then she has me do a circuit. She's like, no resting, no resting. I'm like, oh my God, no offense. That girl running again. That I just, it's
Yeah.
frustrating because
No, for
here
real, it
you,
sucks. Yeah. And I'm glad you're being honest about this. Thank you. Because I feel like a lot of the time we hear this thing like you get injured and you'll get right back to it. And it's like, no, you'll probably get back to it faster than it originally take to build it, but it's gonna be an unpleasant couple months, man. Like that's yeah.
it is. And then this added weight just doesn't help physically, mentally,
Yeah.
doesn't.
And I know you have a little like, how did you get into running in the first place?
Running. So I was a chubby kid, and my grandmother would come from Mexico every summer and bring my cousin, who is 3 months older, and she could not hold on to weight. So here she is, a cousin that cannot hold weight, and me who gains weight with anything, looking, thinking, drinking, eating. My grandmother was so into health and eating healthy and being active that she would walk all the time. She would never run, but she would walk. And we would go to a track, which is about 2.5 to 3 miles away from our house. And she would have us, or at least me, walk it. And then she told me to start running. And I don't know if she thought it was a form of punishment because I was chubby. No, I fell in love with running then. I wasn't fast, never a fast runner, but I could do the distance. And that's how I got into running at the age of 7 and didn't really start racing until I believe it was either 2011, 2012, when my brother-in-law, Justin, brought it up to my husband and I'd like to do a marathon. I'm like, perfect. My work is sponsoring it was called the PF Chain half marathon at the time. I said, I'll sign us up. We'll do the half marathon. And that's when I officially started racing.
That's awesome. I mean, that story like definitely brings up some conflicting feelings for me, right? Like I also grew up as kind of like a fat kid for a little while, and it was not always the best. And I definitely have a complicated relationship with my body to this day, and don't really. I'm not really able to trust what I see in the mirror. Like body dysmorphia, all this stuff. Like eating is kind of a mixed bag, and I do best when I like try to train for performance. But I'm not going to say that like all of that is completely better. And so for me, like running as a like heavier teenager was definitely punishment. Um, and I would love to know how you were able to frame it in this like positive way when many of us hearing that story probably have a reaction that's more on my side.
Well, I believe that I've had positive and negative as well.
It makes sense.
At age 5, I started dieting. I saw my older sisters diet. and I was chunky, sure, I'm gonna diet too. I was, what would you say? I was bullied as a kid. I was a fat kid.
Mm,
My nickname was Snowball. So the eating disorders came. And then
yeah.
I am thankful for my grandmother for introducing me to running. But it also put an image in me that I need to be thin. I need to be thin. And that is where I started with eating disorders.
Yeah.
And I kept this quiet for my mom and dad until like my senior year, or at least my junior year, senior year, when they had to take me to the ER. I would fluctuate. I would be anorexic, or I would be a binge eater, or I'd be bulimic in that whole elementary to high school. And running to me, I felt like it was a way that I didn't want it. Of course, when you have eating disorders, you find exercise as being obsession.
Yeah.
And maybe it was, but for me, it was a way to just release. And I guess maybe I did overdo it. Maybe I did. But for me, I was just seeing I can release. I can just have a little bit of time that I don't have all that pressure.
I get that. And like that's actually strength training was for me. So that tracks just like a different format. And I feel like you don't seem to have as maybe as much of that relationship now. I don't know what's going on inside your head, but like what helped you move through it and maybe on to a slightly, hopefully fully better place?
I was through the my religion, they would always take us to a youth, I think it was, what was it called, youth world, I can't remember. We'd have to go to New Mexico, Farmington, New Mexico, I believe it was Farmington. And
Okay.
I
Sorry, I'm
would
from New
just
Mexico. There's not a lot in
oh
Farmington, so that's why I'm giggling. Okay, go ahead.
so that's, we would have you, I can't remember what the name was, but I would do that like every time they would have it. World Youth Day, that's what it
Okay.
was with. And all these parishes and Catholics would come together, youth, and just we'd celebrate and learn more about the religion. So I got returning spiritually in that, and I still didn't tell my parents. I didn't tell
Yeah.
anything, nothing. So I was trying to work through that way. And when it came to the point that I couldn't hide it, I was, not to get too graphic, I was just couldn't stop throwing up, and it was blood now at that point was coming up.
Yeah.
So my parents and my sister had to rush me to the ER, and that's when I had to tell them. And then they said, "Would you like to have some help with eating disorders?" And I looked at my mom, no. So technically, I never had any therapy or any, I didn't go to any institution to that. I just looked, just did it on my own. Was it spiritually? Maybe I'm like this with spiritual. It just worked its way out. Maybe running, I don't know. But I still have it. I can't look in the mirror, especially now, 20 pounds. I'm the heaviest that I'm at. I can't, I can't. It's hard for me to look at who I am, what I am. And I don't look like a runner. I'm not a runner anymore. And I even until then, when I was thinner, I just felt like all these ultra runners, especially when I was doing towed the 100 miler at Javelina, I looked at everybody. I'm like, I don't belong here. I don't have their physique. They're muscle, they're skinny. I'm different. I'm not. And I just said, you know what? That's not your why. You have a stronger why. You have every right to be here. You trained. You are who you are and run this race. And I did. And later on, when I was looking at the people at the start line, when people who were the ones who were really muscular, it didn't make me happy that they DNF'd, but it showed me that even if you're thin or you're muscular, it doesn't necessarily mean that you can get to the finish line. It's not a requirement.
No, it's absolutely true. And that story's hard, Sonia, very honestly. Like it's a tough thing to kind of process. And I think a lot of people listening to this have definitely gone off and on with eating stuff, right? For lack of better term. Like there's eating disorders, there's disordered eating, there's all this like struggle. And I think a lot of people who end up in ultras like have some version of it one way or another. Like usually you're a little dopamine driven if you're going to run 100 miles, or at least want to. And there's a lot of crossover between disordered eating and like dopamine drive. Like there's definitely like, because it's all a control thing, right? Like there's a lot of that. So when you end up like, I don't think there's a perfect answer for everybody. Like I think therapy's great. I think these groups are great. I like had someone on a while ago, and her name's Kelly. Like if anybody hasn't listened to that interview, you probably should. But like that was its own approach, and I think like I'm not sure it ever fully goes away. It just gets better. Like I know to some degree what I look like because people tell me, but like I don't really see it, and that's kind of a tough thing. And I think like really focusing on like as you said, like what you can do, setting your goals, focusing on your why, like getting across the finish line. These are not one-to-one relationships at all, and not focusing on some of the minutia or whatever percentage is like below camera here, and like not getting lost in the stuff that doesn't actually matter in the grand scheme of things is what we need to do. And however you're able to do that is what matters. So if we're looking at like, you mentioned your why, and I think that is actually probably the biggest thing that is going to make a difference for some of this deeper, harder stuff. Like for most people that I talk to who want to start this journey of running farther than we should be, I think the why is the point, right? Like you should sign up for races that matter to you. You should have this like driving factor. So when you say you had a why, like I would love to hear more about that.
So being my parents, one of my parents' caregivers, and they've lived with us. I just their story, the stuff they had to do to get to this country and work to give my sister and I the best life. I and how no matter if they were tired, how many hours they worked, if they felt sick, that to me helped me build my why. If my parents could do this, I can do this. And what better way to honor their memory and keep their name alive, their memory alive, is if I run my races for them, for their memory. That's what keeps pushing me. And like I said, I am so thankful for the signs that I get while I'm training because they might have they're not physically here, but I still get that butterfly. I still get my dad pacing, and it just keeps going. I just feel like if I can running through grief and can help somebody who is grieving, that you don't have to sit on the couch and rot. You can get up, whether it be cycling, running, or starting a little business, or sewing, or crocheting, whatever is your hobby. You can get up. You can get up and move forward, not move on, move forward. So that's my why. That is why I do Couch to 100 Miles, running through grief, Everybody has a grief, whether you lost a job, whether you lost a loved one, whether you lost a pet, or you lost a best friend that they're still living. You're always going through something that is troubling you. It's you're grieving. So get up off the couch, take baby steps, and get to what is your finish line.
So I have a question that's like been, I don't know, on my mind to some degree. I feel I heard this quote a while ago that like a lot of ultra runners are running either to something or away from something, right? And this kind of brings this to mind, like, what do you feel the difference is for people like running like through grief versus running away from grief?
So the ones running away from grief are the ones who are closing up. They don't want to talk about it. If they're, that's fine. If you want to be closed and not talk about it, that's how you want to grieve. That's perfectly fine. There's no wrong way, no right or wrong way to grieve. That if you want to run away for it, run away from it, that's fine. Perfect. But don't stay too long on that. Come back and run towards the the healing.
Sense. And I feel like to some degree that would bring us to community, right? Because like you, other people shut down, been there repeatedly, but like in shutting down, if we're like having that running away being synonymous with that, then running through, like seems to involve some aspect of community. And I can see that you're very involved in the like Phoenix area, Aravaipa, like Arizona running community. And like, what have you done to stay involved in that community in spite of like not being able to maybe participate in the races yourself as a runner? What have you done to stay involved in the community?
Well, it was hard when the pandemic hit. That was, and then my mom passing. So after my injury, my good friend Danelle, she was training for Cocodona 250, and I had the honor, along with her sister, to be her crew chief.
Nice.
And that was something that I got to live through it. I got to be part of the running community, not running it, but it was so wonderful to help these runners achieve their goals. Once we would get to nail out of one aid station to the next point, we would stay behind because we had a lot of time. So what would we do? We would crew those people who didn't have anybody
Awesome.
to help them. So that was just the most wonderful thing to see these amazing athletes go through sleep deprivation, go through the blisters, losing toenails, falling, everything. Just patch you up, get you going. That's what helped me through my injury, which I was in those ankle braces still. And then um, I got to volunteer once for Frenzy at the Escondido aid station. Oh, that trail, Escondido. I'm going to show you that. I'm coming back. I got to do that because it was open and I was on a knee scooter. I was on my all-terrain knee scooter, and I still was so
Uh,
grateful that Aravaipa let me volunteer. And I even contacted them saying, if you're not okay, you think I'm a liability, I won't do it. I didn't hear back. So I said, that's a yes. So I went, and it was so great to see everybody again, getting them out of that aid station and go. And then I haven't been really volunteering much because I did sign up for across the years. And I did reach out to Patty because that one aid station, it's very close. And I was in a knee scooter. And it was, and I agree with Patty because number one, we're there for the runners. We need to be there. And it's so close. I just couldn't have the mobility into with the knee scooter. So I haven't been after that really volunteered with Aravaipa. I through my social media, I see my fellow friends, virtual friends, if they're doing a race, I FaceTime with them. Like, let's go, Joe. He did Buckeye 200. I was FaceTiming with him. I say, come on, buddy, you need to drink. You need to get some rest. That's how I kind of stay in the community. If I can't volunteer, I'm going to FaceTime you. I'm going to find you. I'm going to call you some way to get you to your finish line.
I love that. I'm like, what have you found so positive about this community? Because I agree. Like I started coaching trail runners before I even was one, and it's like there's something about the trail community that does feel different to me. What is that for you? Like what draws you to this community so much?
I just feel like it's the positivity, the radiation of the love for this sport that we have. It's just so positive. It's like you're right, it's different. We're not worried about paces. How fast are you running? Or it's nothing like that. It's not it maybe to a point it is competitive, but it's not. It's more humbling. People out there are so humble. Strangers, hey, you need help? Sure, I'll take help. It's it's really a humbling experience. I don't know how to explain it that it draws me to this community. They're very positive. They'll take you in. It doesn't matter what you look like, how fast you run. If you have a goal, come on, I'm going to help you. And I really love that because it was my second ultra. I was doing cold water 52K. I was struggling, and one of Aravipa's running team members, her name is Colleen. She was, I don't know if she was first place at that time, second place, whatever. She stopped and talked to me. Here she is. She's running her race. She has a goal in mind, but she stopped to talk to me and give me a high five and say, "Get at it. Let's go." That's the thing that draws me to this community. You may be competitive, but if you stop and help somebody else, it's just wonderful.
I agree. There's like definitely something inclusive to it that I can't like completely put my finger on, but it's just very welcoming, I guess. Well, I think that's all of the things I had on my like list of stuff that I wanted to talk to you about. Do you have anything else you'd like to share or add before we close this out for today?
Sure. Also, too, the way running, when I say running, is in my blood. Uh, my father told me when I was helping him with his wound because I'll make the story short. He got
We'll take your
attacked by
time.
two pit bulls and they tore off his thumb. And the sparkler guy saved his life. Who was delivering water, saved his life. And he went to the hospital where I work at. And my dad was so strong, and they weren't able to save the thumb because of his age, and sepsis could be a problem. Anyways, as his recovery and I was patching up his wound, he told me, Mija, which is maybe a slang or pet name for a daughter, I know why you like to run. And I said, why is it, Dad? Why is it that I like to run? He goes, it's in your blood. And of course, I'm translating everything because this is in Spanish. He's like, I'm a Tara Umara, those
Gotcha.
long distance runners. And so therefore you are. And I'm like, oh my gosh. I said, no wonder you got so excited when the Tarahumaras came and ran at cold water. No wonder you were showing me in the newspaper saying, look, look. And it makes sense.
Yeah.
My dad, he loved for me to run. He was the first one to say, let me see your medal. I want to see your medal. Or if I'm training, hey, what's on the training plan today? Oh, Dad, I only ran 20 miles. That's it. So yeah, that's another reason why I love running. And I don't know if you saw in that 1 month that I got to run, I was running in sandals. I
Hmm.
was running in sandals trying to, my coach said, let's strengthen those ankle muscles and take it easy and let's get into like not barefoot running, but sort of. And I said, you know what? That's great. I'll be running like my ancestors.
It's really cool. That's really cool. I think the history of the Tarahumara is fascinating to a lot of us, and the fact that you're like so directly tied to that lineage is really I don't know. Probably some there probably feels something very special about that, right? Like I don't have a lot of that ancestral anything in my life. That's really cool that you have that like story to attach you. Was your dad a runner? Did he run?
He didn't live in the Sierra Mountains. I think he lived in Chihuahua, Mexico. So not really much a runner. He didn't really run. But let me tell you, to the last days of his life, that man could walk. And I said, Dad, you should sign up for a 5K. You and me, a 5K. We'll start with a 5K. You don't have to run. You can walk it. You can walk so fast. He's like, oh, I don't know. I don't know. So then we never had the chance to run or walk a race. But
Yeah.
I did have the privilege to run a race with my mom. I pushed her in the wheelchair. She still could walk, but to me, I wanted her to feel that what I felt when my dad was with me, the presence. So we did like a 10K and dressed her up as Mrs. Santa Claus, and I pushed her, and she's very competitive too. And we had high hopes of, let's do a half marathon. We were looking at Phoenix half marathon and then the marathon. And then eventually I was looking at charity bibs for Boston Marathon. Because when she came with me to the New York City Marathon, she's like, "What's next?" I'm like, Mom, I want to do Boston. Maybe we can do Boston together. And then that didn't never happen. So,
That's
but I
great,
still
man.
have them with me.
That's cool. Sonia, I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much for
No, Will, thank you to you. Thank you very much.
oh, anybody listening, thank you so much for being here. Sonia, hang out for 1 second. We will be back with another one of these soon. Have a good one.